If you think your thoughts and opinions do not matter, or if you fear taking the next steps towards a better you, or if you allow other people to take free reign of your life, now is the time to put an end to these limiting beliefs. Welcome to Change Your View, a podcast that will help you take back control to have a well-lived life and the conviction that your life is to have meaning. Join Haseena Shaheed-Jackson in discussions aimed at overcoming the limitations of physical sight to see with spirit, hope, and faith. Each episode will empower you to develop the courage and self-assurance to go after the life you want. Here is your host, Haseena.
So Doranita, I'm excited to have you on here today. And I want to just dive right in because you have a powerful story. You are the owner of your own business, American Family Insurance. And just tell me, how did you get started in your own business? What brought you into this arena?
Wow. I would, first, I want to say thank you, Haseena, because I truly admire you. As you mentioned, we've known each other for about 4 or 5 years now. And I've just watched you, and I admire what you're doing and hope to one day walk in your shoes as well. But I would say for me, I've been an agent now. I've had my own business for 27 years. But it came through, we have different seasons in life, peaks and valleys. And this actually came during a valley. I had lost my job. My marriage was over. And I had to start over. And one thing I always did was that I pour myself motivational. I stay focused on motivational speakers and reading. And at that time, it was Les Brown. And Les Brown said, I attended one of his programs, and he mentioned that, you need to pray and ask God to reveal what's your next step. Now, he wasn't just talking to me. He was talking to everybody in the room. And from his presentation, that was the only thing I remembered. And when I got home, I started writing. And first I prayed, and I prayed like I'd never prayed before. The tears were just flowing like a faucet I couldn't turn off. And I just started writing as the Lord guided me. And when I finished writing, it was the plan. 30 years ago, what my plan was, that I would start a business. Now I was bankrupt. I didn't have any money. I'm about to move back home with my parents, with my children. And but God said, I'm going to open the door, and I'm going to give you this opportunity, which was, going into an insurance business. But when I do, you got to reach back and help others. And so that's just been the vision. God opened the door, and it's just been opportunity after opportunity. And then staying focused on making sure that I reach back and I help others. So that's been, just the driving force, realizing the opportunity that I was given. A part of my background is that I'm a domestic violence survivor. And what was my blessing was that I was able to go home. But there are so many people who don't have that. And they would have to, go to the shelters and things like that. And I was able to go home. And so I just wanted to make sure that I was able to give back and help others, to be a resource and just to inspire them.
You said so many things in that. Just when I have to go back and touch on a few of those. The one is the fact that you experienced a loss where your life totally turned around and you had no money, but you had this strategic plan that you knew you were going to own a business.
Yeah.
And you didn't let the fact that you didn't have any money stop you from pressing forward with your plan. So tell me, what did that feel like? Because a lot of times we say to ourselves, well, I can't do this, I can't do that, or I can't leave a job. But I'm not telling anybody to leave a job. I would never tell anyone, to go down that road unless you felt comfortable with it. But what does it look like, and what makes you want to go forward knowing that I have zero in the bank, but I have this drive? So what did you do? What actions did you take? What was the steps that again, you said you were able to go back home. You did have someone somewhere where you could go live, but still you had no money. So what made you still go forward with this dream of owning your own business? What was the steps?
It was just that I wanted to do. I needed to be in a career that gave me flexibility for my children. First and foremost, they were young, and I needed to be sure that I could be with them or be there whenever they needed me. So that was driving me. And then I've just always had this drive to succeed, at whatever I did. And I just needed something because when you're in that type of situation, I was you're just beat down and you feel like nothing, but the Lord just inspired me, like and the way it came about is that I was working for a couple of other agents, with another company with State Farm, and I thought that my career path was going to be working with State Farm, but that wasn't the case. I ended up coming with American Family. But the thing is, I looked at the two agents that I worked for, and the thing for me, and it's always been my motto. Well, if they could do it, I could do it too. If they can do it, I can do it too. And it's just, and knowing that everything that I did, it was just, God was all along the way. I can't acknowledge anything that's happened in my life without Him and His hand, and just getting that, just having that revelation and that assurance that, I'm gonna make this happen, and but you got to make sure you get back, so it's like it was like you do this, and and I'll do this, and this is what you're responsible for doing. So it's just always been that drive, and then having support. I couldn't have I couldn't have done it without my parents, because my children were 1 and 2 when I divorced. They were 2 and 3 when I started an agency, and
Mm-hmm.
young children, they require a lot. And like I said, I was working at the time, so because I was doing the State Farm thing, that was part time. I did have a full time job that I was moving up in, but it just wasn't. I didn't see a future in it, and I wanted something that really added value, that really made a difference. And so, when this opportunity came, I wanted to dive in. And when I initially told my mother and father, of course, they were like not so, they were like initially not on board. They're like, "Are you sure you want to leave your job? Are you sure this is what you want to do?" And once I shared with them, and they saw my drive and how important this was for me, they supported me, wholeheartedly. So, even though I was pursuing it, there were still peaks and valleys there too, because, and I'm a journal. I like to write. I like to do journals, and that's the way that I kind of pour into it. And I still have my journal that I wrote, where on one of my low points, I just felt like such a failure, because I said, I'm like, I just want someone to love me. I can't take care of my kids. I can't put shoes on their feet. I can't feed them. I don't put a roof over their head. I felt like such a failure, and I had a life insurance policy, and I'm thinking, well, maybe if I committed suicide, if I kill myself, then at least I could take care of my kids. That's how low I was, and I thank God that I closed that journal. And when I did, a couple days later, I opened it up, and I read it back again. And when I read it back, I was reading, and I'm like, everything that I thought I needed, I had. Maybe I couldn't provide for my kids, but my kids never suffered because my mother and father were always there. So it's amazing how even when you're in those valleys, how God can turn it, and it's just helped me to go. So when you have those peaks, it's something to look back on so that you can continue to move forward. But the support that I've had was just phenomenal.
That's so interesting. I'm a firm believer in is that if you put your mind to it, the resources will come, and you are a testimony to that. Like you were saying, you were at that low point, and you feel, well, I'm not doing these things, I'm not doing that. However, as you look back, when you saw those negative words that you wrote 2 days later after you wrote them, you said, well, wait a minute, I am doing all these things.
Hmm.
And so you saw the evidence of your progress, and that's what helped you to keep going forward, sounds like to
Hmm.
me.
Yeah, it is.
But one of the other things that you mentioned was about failure. Failing. And John Maxwell says we must fail forward.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
can't you
And
can't go
Les
back and keep
Brown,
going
Les Brown
and
said, if
keep
you got to fall,
lamenting over the fact that
Les Brown says, if you have to fall, if Les Brown says, if you fall on your back. So at least you looking up, so if you look up, you can get up. So, you got to have, um, it's power in that stuff. It really
that is so true. I love that one too. I'm gonna have to add that one down. And fall on your back so you looking up so that you
is.
know so that you don't if you're looking down, that's just like what my pastor said one time. If you look down, you see nothing but dirt and mud. But if you look up, you see nothing but
Yeah,
hope because you see
yeah,
the sky and its beauty and that keeps
yeah,
you going forward. So I love what Les said. It's like in alignment with that.
sometimes we're so busy, and thinking we don't got time for God. I'm so busy, so busy. And I ended up falling recently, and I fell hard on my back, and I'm looking up, and God really got my attention.
Ooh.
So it's something. It made, it came to me then, like, okay, you gonna slow down now, So it's like, yeah, it works in many ways.
All right. Yes, he does. He does. So what is one of the failures that you had when you first started out that you just said, I'm just gonna give up? But then but you really thought about it and you said, no, I have to keep going forward. You didn't allow that failure to hold you back and give up on that plan.
I would say I had took my eyes off of, like, you have a business plan, you have your goals, you know what you're doing. I took my eyes off of what my plan was, and I started looking at other people, and I started comparing myself to others. And like, we get a production report, and on the production report, I would be at the bottom of the production report, and there would be some negative people, that would kind of ridicule you because you're at that report. And so I really beat myself up, and so much so that the negativity was really drowning me. But I'm grateful that I was able to bounce back from it. But I really, I was at a point where, because I felt like, again, feeling like I'm a failure, and I noticed that I'm feeling like myself a failure because I'm measuring myself by somebody else, and not about what my goals are, and not staying focused on what my goals were.
Mm.
But the good thing is that I do write them down, so I, like, I'll go so low, and then I'll have to step back, just like when I was writing in my journal. I had to step back, and when I step back and I look at it, it's like, okay, let me just stay focused on doing what I'm doing, and what's my goal. And eventually I started moving up. I started moving up the report, and it's interesting because, like, there's this particular agent that really ridiculed me, and maybe he didn't mean any harm, but people don't know what you're going through. I was a single
Mm.
mother trying to take care of my kids, and it was just, I had my parents, but it's still, I was a lot going through a lot, and people don't think about it. But that very agent, he's still with the company now, and the tables have really turned, and it's like, okay, and not that I think I'm better than him or anything, but it's like, you know,
Mm.
um, that's why you got to keep your eyes on yourself and not what other people are doing, and not trying to meet other people's expectations. You need to be clear about what your expectations are and what your goals are, and stay connected. And at times you may need to tweak them, because, and you got to stay, got to stay connected, because they will evolve. And I've just been amazed at how the goals have been evolving, because, initially I'm thinking it's just about insurance, but and that's my career, but it's involved into so much more. Well, this is really just a vehicle for my calling. So, and so, but yeah, it's it really has evolved.
Well, I got two things that I want to. Let's go back to. It sounds like to me your way of overcoming the negativity is to journal and to go back and read your words to help you stay in a positive mindset. I mean, that is a wonderful tool because I know, and for people who do like to write, if you were to just jot down your ideas and your thoughts and go back to them instead of looking at other people, that will keep you on the path that you need to be going down instead of looking at what someone else has or the things that they have. Look at what you're supposed to be doing, and that will keep you on track. Sounds like that's the method that you use there.
It is. You put it perfectly. It is. I journal because I journal because I have to get it out of my head. Because if not, it clouds my thinking and I can't focus. So I journal to get it out. Then I have to step away from it and then come back. And when you come back, it changes the perspective. It really does change.
One of the other things that I want to talk about is the support system. I mean, and I look at this that I know everybody does not have the same support system, but I love the fact that you sat down with your parents to share your dream right off the bat before you even went out there because you were already thinking about that you needed to have a circle surrounding you that helped to lift you up. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that your parents told you initially, well, you sure you want to do this? And is this really the right path for you? And you said yes, and they still stuck behind you.
Mm-hmm.
So how? instrumental were they, like when those times when you had those peaks and valleys, and those valleys where you in your low period, how important was that support system to you?
Wow. I mean, it
What
was,
did they say? What did they do to help
wow.
you stay
Well, it,
focused?
it was everything, because once I divorced, my children's father wasn't in their life. So my parents, they felt that void. They were my support because, when you start a small business, you work a lot of late nights, and so my parents were there. I also had an older brother who was also there, two older brothers that were also there to help me with my children when I needed it. My parents, I mean, whatever I needed, the home. I don't know if you remember Bell Federal. That was who the mortgage was with, with the home. And so father went and paid off
Yes,
the
I remember Bill
mortgage.
Federal. Yes, yes.
So he went and paid off the mortgage so that he could transfer his insurance to me. And I'm like, Dad, you don't have to do that. But I mean, that was just, I guess, to let his way of letting me know how much he really supported me. And so they supported me, just in being clients and helping me with my children. They supported me financially. They supported me, just mentally, being able to know that they were there. um, and it was no judgment, no condemnation, because it was hard. I was working some long hours and not bringing any money home because my other support was my staff. I've always had employees, so even when I couldn't pay myself, I'm paying employees. Because and I'm grateful that
Hmm.
that I have a team, because that I call them my team, that really they see the vision, and they support. So it is, so the things that I'm not able to do, they just they just take it and they run with it. So having them, my husband, I
Hmm.
just, I did remarry, and is, God sent the right person to help me, because like I mentioned, I was bankrupt, I had horrible credit, and he sent me a man with perfect credit, and he helped me, get my credit together. So it's just recognizing the right people,
Okay.
and then sharing too. That's something else that's important too. Like I share with my parents, this is what I desire to do, and even with my husband, because like when once we got married, there was some difficult times there, because he's wondering, should you really continue with this business? He thought maybe I should let it go, because I wasn't bringing much money home, but I'm paying, a lot of money was going out. But then having that conversation and him really believing and understanding and seeing the big picture. So you got to be able to share, so people can, you got to know what the picture is, so that you can share it and communicate it with others, so that they can kind of help you. And God has just always placed the right people, in my corner to help me move every step of the way.
So when did you see the tide start turning on your business? What when did you see that moment that you were going from the negative into the positive? What changed? What actions were you taking to that got you over to the other side?
And what does that mean? Like financially? Um, well, let's see. In the program I was in,
Financially, when your business, yes.
so in the program I was in, it was supposed to be a 2-year program, but for me it took 3 years. But I would say, to get off this program that they had, but I would say it probably took me a good 7 years, before I could really start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and things, and I realized that,
Mm.
this was more than insurance, because I love what I do, and what my and how my team supports me in it, because this, what we do, is more than just selling insurance. We really help people understand, well, we have to understand, like, what's important to people, and make sure that we're properly protecting it. But then also, we build some really strong relationships. So I would say, it's about 7 years, and then just moving forward, and being able to add more people to me for 23 years this year. And just over the years, just sending the right people.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. So 7 years is where you saw that hard work finally paying off. And then you
Hmm.
talked about what I loved is that you were steering the ship and charting the course because you had the vision and you had people that were willing to follow you. What made them want to follow you? I mean, so how did you what made them get the buy-in to want to be part of Dornita's vision that she had to open up and have her own insurance company?
Well, it has to be everyone. I think everyone that works for me now, none of them were looking for a job. None of them came to me looking for a job. It's just that I saw something in them. Like I have a vision of how I want our team to look. I can't do everything. There are areas where I'm weak, and I know the people where they were strong. And so when I would meet people and I would identify certain strengths that they had, I would just start talking about them. Because what's here is it is as little as or as small as, hey, staying here with me and moving up in my agency, or if there's opportunity if they desire to have their own business. So I mean, the opportunity is endless here. Depends on what they want, but you're in the vision. And again, the part of it, the main thing is that it's not about selling insurance. That's not the thing. It's about really understanding what's important with people and protecting what matters, helping them to understand, how insurance works. It's not just, about the price. And it's about relationship. That's something that's so key. And so I think it's the relationships that I build with my team that really makes the difference. And it's really helped, me to get some um, great people to stay with me. And like you said, what is it? It's just that I share the vision. They see the vision and they're excited and they want to be a part of it. Is a big thing, because like I said, I keep saying it's not just about
You
insurance. It's
dropped
really
some.
about touching lives and making a difference. And we get to see that time and time again. It's really rewarding that we're engaged with our clients, and then we're also engaged in the community. So it gives your life meaning. We our life has meaning with what we do.
Well, you said some interesting nuggets there. One about you brought people in, you explained to them what your vision was, and then they bought into that because they believed in what you were doing, the cause, because you have a cause.
Hmm.
It's not about selling insurance. You're looking to help people's lives become better.
Right. Yeah.
To
I mean,
me,
you're
and
saying
you were
it
talking about
perfectly. And
calling,
that's
and it appears that that is what
yeah.
you're saying your calling is. So I was just saying, so how does this vision of insurance equate to helping someone have a better life? Because that's really what your calling is saying. You're saying that through insurance, I'm helping you to have a better life. How does that connect together? Explain to me.
Part of it is just going back to how I came into it. So I let people know, this is a career path that the Lord provided for me. This wasn't what I chose for me. This is what He chose, because it's a career that truly mirrors my heart in loving to and wanting to help people and to serve. I'm a servant leader. Has evolved and through the pandemic, I have a mission statement that was formed. And because again, the Lord opened this door so that I can reach back and help others. And initially, my focus was, has always been just about women who are domestic violence, helping them to turn from victims to survivors. The phrase that I said, if you could, like,
Mm,
the thing that pushed me, that if you could do it, I could do it too. And so that's what I want to be to them. If I could do it, you can do it too. And so I had a mission statement, and it says that, I desire to encourage women to move beyond the baggage of their past and support them to pursue their dreams within their families, their careers, and beyond. So it's and I desire to do that because that's what the Lord has done with me. Giving me opportunities that I would never have thought
mm-hmm.
possible. And but it's not, not, anything happens by accident. There's a reason, and we have to find a way to turn it so that it glorifies God. So I mean, that's the motivating factor. And just sharing that with my team, they it's like God just sends me the right people. Brenda, who's been with me 23 years, she was trying to pay an insurance payment to another agent. I wasn't even her agent. And, just she struck up a conversation, and, it went from there. Another young lady, it'll be with me 6 years. She was coming in to make a tow claim, and I was looking for someone that was bilingual. Well, I got a bonus. She was not only bilingual, but she knew sign language. And it was just a confirmation. Her first day, we have two clients that are hearing
Mm,
impaired. How was it that they both came in her first day? So little things like that, just show me. Another one
mm,
that's been with me for 10 years, the same thing. Our conversation was not around her working for me. But it just just sharing, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, and hey, I want to help. I want to help. So it's just been an amazing journey to see how he's kind of put this together.
The more you talk, the more that you validate that concept of the resources will come if you just believe. The resources will be provided if you just keep going forward. So we cannot allow what we don't have to keep us from going forward to what we can achieve. And I thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, that's, to me, this whole time together today has really validated how important it is to not allow what you don't have to stop you from going forward to what you can have and can achieve. And one more thing that I would like for you to just share with is that, and I bring this up because I am actually going back to school to study, and one of the things is about human services, and it's just so important for domestic violence victims to have that support system or to be able to have hope. So when they don't have that, then they want to give up on life. So you are a prime example of what happens if you have a support system and if you believe in hope, that you don't have to stay in a situation that is abusive and that is harmful to you and your children. So we must believe in getting out of any kind of environment that devalues us and will cause us to not believe in who we can become. So, what is something that you want to, a blasting note or a comment that you want to leave with somebody that's just saying, I can't do it. I can't go forward. I don't have the resources. What is something that you can tell them, one action that they can take today to show them that they can do it?
I would say that there are resources. And you have to reach out to those resources, whether it's through the police department, because there's shelters out there. I'm actually, and it's amazing because 30 years ago, I did go to a shelter. Not that I had to live there, but I went there for counseling. And 30 years later, I now sit on that board. And like I said, God said to go back and help. And I didn't have intentions. I didn't know where the shelter was. But again, in sharing, you got to share with people, find people who you can confide in. But in sharing with people what I desired to do got me connected with this board. And one thing that I noticed when I'm on this board is the Crisis Center of South Suburbia. In my first meeting, they mentioned the population is predominantly African American women, and I wanted to know why, and it was because we lack resources. We lack resources. So it's so important that like you getting this message out, and that you're sharing. But if there's just one person that you can confide in, because for me it was Surrender. That was my one person that really knew what was going on. My parents didn't really know because there's this shame that's going on. But if there's one person that you can confide in to kind of help pull you out, because there are resources out there. It's just you have to get out, find the courage to take that step, and realize how valuable you are, because you are valuable. And that's the thing, because when you're in that type of situation, you don't realize what you're worth, but you are worth so much, and you have to believe that, and just find you one person that you can confide in, and that's taking that first step.
And one thing that you brought up that is so true. Women of color have the hardest time with getting out of a situation because they feel they lack resources. But
Yeah.
you have to know that there's resources available. Don't go into that mindset of defeated, think that you can be defeated. Instead, go that you can be a victor and that you can overcome any obstacle that you have if you just believe and have hope. So I thank you so much, Doranita, for taking this time today to really sharing your story and showing how you can come from being bankrupt to owning your own business,
Yeah.
having that vision and striving forward to it, because you don't have to, where you start doesn't mean that's where you
That's
will
not where
end.
you're gonna
So
finish.
I
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Haseena.
This concludes this episode of Change Your View. Let this conversation help you navigate life's challenges, emerging from that seemingly endless pause that you are experiencing. Regain command of your own path and resist being boxed in. Visit hsjackson.com for more inspiring and eye-opening discussions. Stop walking in the shadows of other individuals. No longer allow inferior perspectives to brainwash you. Do not be forgotten. You have the authority and power over you. Make the most of your abilities. Thank you for listening. Until next time.